Welcome to part 2 of the battery pack build for the Milwaukee M18 that we're taking from 3 amp hour to 5 amp hour. As ever with these sort of videos, if you're not confident or you don't know what you're doing, please don't do it. Get yourself some training or get someone else to help you. If you have an incident with lithium ion batteries, it usually doesn't end well, so you have been warned. Anyway, with that said, let's crack on. So if you're going to build a battery pack, it's quite easy when you've got new cells. The best thing you want to do, or the first thing you want to do, is just go through and just run up and make sure those batteries have all got the same voltage and they're all balanced. Also check the internal resistance. So that's 13 and 3.5 volts. (13.2), 3.5 volts. 13.15, 3.5 volts. As you can see, with new batteries, this is nice and easy. Just under 13.2, 3.5 volts. So I'll run through the rest of the pack and see if they're all the same, which they should be. So I've gone through the pack. They're all exceptionally good balance, and they should be because they're all brand new. I've had these nearly a year now, and they've been in storage, but they're all at their under the nominal voltage, so no harm would have come to these in storage. All the resistances are within 0.2 of an ohm, so yeah, very, very happy about that. But if you're going to use your own cells or recycled cells, and there's no reason why you shouldn't, as long as they're obviously the high current discharge type, then you must match them. So if you're going to match them, I've built battery packs using used cells, and here's an example. It's obviously doesn't use an original Milwaukee case. This is an aftermarket Chinese case, but inside beats the heart of 15, 18 650s, all taken from Dyson vacuum cleaners. The only issue with that is it's 5 cells in series, so that's 5S, beg your pardon, and 3P, so 3 lots of 5. So there's 15 cells in there, 3 lots of 5 in parallel. But as you can see, normally the original Milwaukee would give sort of 9 amp hour. In this case, it's only 5.5 amp hour because the Dyson cells were only nominally 2 amp hours each. And in this case, they've worn a little bit, so there was only 5.5 amp hour available when that was built. However, don't let that put you off. This pack works every bit as well as a normal pack. It's just it costs a lot less to build because it used reclaimed cells. So yeah, very successful build. I've had that a good couple of years now, and that works very, very well. So what we're going to do to this carcass now is we're going to tidy up all these tabs and straighten them up, etc. I'm also going to trim them as well, because when I build these, whilst I spot weld to the batteries, I then solder the new nickel strip to the existing nickel strip, and the reason for that is that helps me keep the internal resistance down on the nickel strip. Speaking of which, I use 0.2 nickel strip. I've got a big roll of this, so I'll just cut myself off a couple of lengths when I do it, and I'll try and keep the lengths as small as possible to keep the resistance as small as possible. So the more of this stuff you have on the inside, in terms of length between connections, the higher the internal resistance. So I've found that I only need 1 connection per battery, but obviously I solder the connection on to the strip so that you've got the minimum length between the battery and the actual connection, and what that then gives me is a good shorter path and lowers the resistance a little bit of the build. So that's how I do that. What we are going to do is get on with the trimming up. So what I do is I'll just take a pair of cutters, and you see on this side I've taken the tabs off. just by using a pair of side flush cutters. Just nip those off. So I'm going to go up and do that all the way around, and then I can start to straighten out the tabs. So what I've done is I've gone around and trimmed up all the tabs and flattened them out. Now we can start loading the new cells in and start thinking about getting them connected up. So the way the cells go back together is you put the two new cells in, like so, with the cell divider separator between them, and then you put them in. So looking at the board, this is the positive end. So we put these cells in, just push them down. They will be tight all the way home. And the idea is you push them into the to their final position. So I've pushed them in. I use my thumbs. They were quite difficult to push in. Be prepared to use some force, or again use the blunt object to push them in. I did these with my thumbs, but these ones were very tight, but even so I managed to get them in. Now what you need to do is just bend the tabs back over, but what you mustn't do is to make sure that these don't come into contact with the outside rim. So just nice and gently push them over so that they are ready to accept the new nickel strip when we come to connect them up. I'll just zoom in there so you can see an example. What I mean by folding the tabs over is they've got a definite gap above the top of the cell and they're not touching. Nice neat job. Okay, so push the new cells in. As you can see, they're all nice and even. We've got the new, we've got the original nickel strips all trimmed and then flattened out and ready to receive the new nickel strips, which we now need to spot weld onto the cells and then solder onto those strips, and then we complete ourselves the circuit, and then we can start to see if the original BMS is going to work, and then we can put it on charge and hopefully we'll have a serviceable battery pack. So in order to get this done, this is the things you're going to need to connect up these batteries. As I've already mentioned, some nickel strip. You're going to need some pliers and some cutters. I've got some long nose ones there and some heavy duty cutters. Obviously solder. I use a 30-watt soldering iron. Here's my cheap but very effective foot operated battery tag welder, spot welder. So with that in mind, let's crack on. So the first thing I'm going to do on putting this back together is just tin the nickel strip, where I'm going to be soldering to. So to do that, I'm just going to take some solder, my soldering iron, and just touch it onto the end where we're going to put some strip. There we go. And just flow on some solder. And remember, those strips are not touching. And the reason why I'm doing the tinning is just to make the later joining much easier. Same on the other side. And the good thing about nickel strip is it's actually very easy to solder to. It takes to the solder very, very easily. So it makes this a nice quick job. There we go. So what I've done there is, you can see I've connected up the first tab and I've spot welded it in 4 places. So I'll do the next one so you can see what I'm doing. It's really quite straightforward, which is why people use spot welders. It makes these a lot quicker. So just get your nickel strip with an angle bent on the end like so. When it's in the right place, hold that down. Get your electrodes in the right position. Activate the welder, and she's on. Another two. Excellent. And what we do now is we just cut off the excess. Again, being very careful with the cutters that you don't short circuit anything. So that's the second tab on now. Again, same thing. I'm going to just put some tin the edge of that nickel strip underneath, so when we push it down, it welds on nice and easy. It'll solder on nice and easily. So let's get that done now. So we take our soldering iron and some solder, just touch that underneath. You can push that up if you need to. There we go. Likewise with the other one. Nicely tinned. So what we're going to do now is we're going to tin the top ever so slightly, like so. And now we're going to solder that together, and that's easy now because it's all tinned. You just push, heat, hold down with a screwdriver till it sets. Same with the next one. Push, heat till it all melts together. Hold down with a screwdriver till it sets. And then once you're done, all you need to do is to make sure that none of your connections have come through and touched any of the cells, because as you can imagine, that would be bad. So let's just have a close look at that, and we can see that that's nicely away from the cells. So what we're now going to do is make the connections from there to there and from there to there. Spot weld again, keeping that in line where we need it. Spot welder on, press the foot pedal, job done. Second set, job done. So as you can see, I've now connected both of those cells to that strip using solder. It's a reasonably neat job. It's not perfect, but it's certainly perfectly good enough for what I need. And most importantly, none of those strips are coming into contact with the battery, which is absolutely imperative for safe operation. So I've gone round, I've connected up all the batteries on both sides, as you can see. The other thing I've done is I've taken a thinners soaked rag, and I've just cleaned up all the flux that was used in the cord solder. You don't want to leave that on, because over a period of time that is actually corrosive. So taking that off is a way of ensuring a good long life in your connections. So next job, push the button. Nothing happens. So when you get this scenario where it's all connected and nothing's happening, the first thing you want to do is connect it up to a charger, because that can in a way reset the board, and then we'll see what happens from there. Okay, so I've just hooked that to the charger, and sure enough, it came back on with 1 bar, which is about where we are with the battery charge. So what I'm going to do now is put that back into its case and then put it on charge, and we'll leave it until it gets fully charged, and then we'll test it. Okay, so I've just pressed the circuit back into the case, just make sure it's still working, which it is. Take the lid, put that back on, press that down nicely, and then we'll put some screws in. So we've got long ones in the back. Nice and gently. Always put these in diagonally first, so it pulls the case down nicely. That's it. And once that's all in, we can put it on the charger. That's it. So just for good measure, what I'll do is I'll get a power tool now, and just to make sure that actually works. So that's my M18 drill. Yeah, seems awesome. So 1 bar, let's get it charged. So I use a wall mounted charger, so let's just put that on, and there we go. 1 bar on the light, and we're charging perfectly. So we'll leave that to charge up now, see what we get. So we're back off the charger, just push the button. We've got a full set of lights. So let's open it up and see what the level of charge is like inside, and see what the cells are like, see if they've all come up even, or see if we've got any leakers. So with the case disassembled, have a quick look. Everything looks to be sweet, no damage, got no leaking going on. Obviously the board's working, which is excellent. So let's put a meter on that now and see what we get. So first check is, let's check the pack voltage. 20.71. That's very good. So that's been off charge now a couple of hours, so that's settled down, which is excellent. So going across each cell, 4.14, 4.14, 4.14, 4.14, 4.14. Beautiful. Just like new, which is excellent to see. And then we look at the internal resistance across the whole pack at the terminals. We have 39.3, which is right on the money. Excellent. So this pack, I think, is ready to go. Well, hopefully you enjoyed that there, the little rebuild. I just finished off with putting a couple of signs on it. Obviously, labelled it up as resold, the date, and obviously the new capacity. What I will do now is stick a little note on the bottom to say what the fully charged internal resistance is. That way I can monitor the pack over its life. Anyway, hopefully you'll find that useful. If any of you want to go about or want to understand how I rebuilt packs, that's it in 2 parts. So yeah, the Milwaukee kind of lends itself as fairly straightforward for rebuilding. I will be doing another couple of packs, I think, in the near future, and these won't feature high current cells. So although I said in here you must use the right cells, well, that depends on your use. So I've got a couple of batteries that I'm going to build, which I just need capacity on, and the actual demand is very low. So I'm going to use a different set of cells and a new shell, and we'll build something with just over 9 amp hours, hopefully. So there's something to watch out for in the future. Anyway, if you like this video, please like, subscribe and share, and I'll see you soon. Thank you very much.